If there was one good thing about the freezing rain that led off this wicked winter storm, causing many of the interstates and roads around Kansas City to be paralyzed because the interstates and roads were basically turned into ice rinks, it's the fact that a lot of people are off the roads. People are scared straight. They're staying home for the remainder of this winter storm. These roads and interstates, they are deserted, with the exception of some of those semis and cars that either slid off the side of the road, jackknifed, or they've just been abandoned because there was no moving. Now, what the snow has done, it has helped traction as well. So if you are able to make it out, the traction is so much better than it was, of course, with that ice. But we're expecting blizzard-like conditions. The storm going to intensify throughout the day. Winds 30 to 40 miles per hour, which could lead to whiteout-like conditions, making it very hard to see where the road is. Very easy to drive off the road in those situations. Crews are doing a good job keeping the roads clear, but there's a wide swath of impacts from this winter storm, from Kansas through Missouri, all the way to the East Coast. I'm going to be covering those impacts here in Kansas City. For Weather and Radar, I'm Jonathan Petramala.
Alrighty. Thank you all so much for joining me. That was just Jonathan Petramala. He's out on the scene around the Kansas City area covering this very widespread winter storm, as we've been talking about for the last several days. Hi, everybody. I'm Weather and Radar meteorologist Becca Parker. Good afternoon to you guys on the East Coast. Good morning to you guys to the West. As we've been talking about, this is a very large winter storm that we are going over today. You got everything from snow to ice to severe weather, tornadoes possible, heavy lightning, and a lot of rainfall happening here. You can see it behind me here on the weather radar. We're going to be going over all these impacts today on this live. I want to also tell you about how we have a live blog going on the app and on the website right now, where you can follow along on the latest impacts from the storm and what is expected throughout the day. We've got plenty to go over, and it's just going to be a very busy storm over the next 24 to 36 hours. So please drop the questions that you have about this storm into the comment section. I'm happy to answer them. I will be checking them throughout the live, and we will be covering those just throughout the live today. If you do have questions that you remember afterwards, feel free to drop them in the comments of this video. I'll be checking that throughout the day as well, so I can give you that latest information, or at least direct you to where you can get great information that you need to know for this certain weather event. So this is the biggest weather event so far of the year. We're only 5 days in, so no wonder. It's also the first major winter storm we've been seeing in years for a lot of these areas, and at least for the first one for the season that isn't out of the Pacific Northwest. We know you guys have been dealing with a lot of rain and snow. You've been going for months with that, but around this area, this is the first impactful one for the eastern 2/3. So this is one to be keeping a close eye on if it's not already impacting you, or if it's headed somewhere that you have family, friends. Make sure to send them the link to this live. I'm able to give the information for this storm today and for the next several hours into Monday. And if they need to be updated and you know that we've got this going on here, please feel free to send them the live link. And it'll be posted on our YouTube page right after as well. So many ways to get this information. Those of you may be tuning in from our notification that we sent on the phone. Awesome. That means you have your alerts on. That's big. Have your alerts on for these types of storm systems and any other storm systems, of course, as we go about winter, getting into the spring season and the summer. So we'll be sending out notifications for the heavy weather events, also just for information that you might need throughout the different seasons, especially the winter season, now that we are well into the winter season and now January. All right. Before we kick it off, I'm going to double check on any questions. If you already have the Weather and Radar app downloaded, perfect. You'll be seeing a lot of the tools that I'm using on here you have available to you free on the app. So feel free to pull that up if you want to reference that. If you don't have it downloaded, you can just download it off of Google Play or the App Store if you have iOS. It's free. It's completely for free. You can get these details for free and get the most accurate weather information that we possibly can provide you so that you can go through this storm with confidence. All right, let's go ahead and dive deep into what's going on here. As you can see, it's pretty extensive. So this is the eastern 2/3 is being impacted by this storm. And if you're not being impacted by it, you're certainly being impacted by the cold weather to come. So we'll talk about that right after this storm does move through. Let's go ahead and start with the wintry parts here. We've got heavy snowfall happening here across the Central Plains, all the way into the lower Ohio Valley, stretching right across here. And we can see some heavy cloud cover here just to the north and to the southern flanks as well. So if you're not being impacted by snow, you're getting cloud cover too. So this storm is massive. To the south here, we've got the severe weather happening. There's already a tornado watch that's been issued for this area down here into the deep south. And heavy rainfall is going to extend all the way up into the Tennessee Valley here. We could get some flooding rains. We'll talk about that more extensively here soon. So wintry weather, let's go over it. The darker the color, the darker the pink you see, the heavier the snowfall. Those of you that have either driven through this or are watching it from out your window with your cup of cocoa in hand, you're seeing that heavy snowfall happen here. You got Kansas City being impacted by that, getting into eastern Kansas here in southeastern Nebraska, and all the way into the lower Ohio Valley. We've got pockets and pockets of very heavy snowfall happening. So that means visibility is low too if you are driving in this. Many of you might be very used to driving in weather like this, and that's awesome. However, it's just going to, really slow you down and even become dangerous, especially if visibility is low and if things become slick on those roadways. Speaking of slick, we've got heavy icing happening. In the orange colors here, you can see that right here across southern Missouri, getting into the lower Ohio Valley over into Kentucky here, and even into the mountains of North Carolina and southwestern Virginia here. So we've got some ice happening here too. You can see a little bit of these pockets of yellow dots. That's lightning. So if you're seeing this, if you're experiencing this icy, you might be hearing thunder as well, and even into the snow. We got some thunder snow happening, thunder snow, thunder ice, and thunderstorms. So we've got plenty going on here. It's a very dynamic system. It's got a lot of energy to really be feeding off of. We got energy coming from the Gulf of Mexico. This storm originally, the energy from it originated in the Pacific Northwest. It's coming from a lot of spots. We've got a lot of cold air coming down from the Arctic to feed that cold weather here across the northern flank of this storm as well. So plenty going on. What is expected? Well, you can see on the weather radar here that snow is happening, ice is happening, severe weather is happening. Let's take a look at what the weather radar looks like for today through tonight as it does move east for the wintry parts here. So snow obviously expected here from the Central Plains into the lower Ohio Valley, getting into the mid-Atlantic states here too by this afternoon. This is 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central. So this ice is also going to be moving with that too. The reason why we got the ice here is because we have warm air surging up from the south, got cold air here from the north, but we also have just pockets in the atmosphere at the lower levels where we've got snow melting or refreezing once it hits the surface, because we've got surface temperatures here in the 20s. Or we also have sleet happening too, where you've got some melting and refreezing action here in the atmosphere as it comes to this middle section of this storm system. That's why you're seeing ice. Some areas could see up to 1 inch of ice, isolated spots up to 1 inch of ice accretion onto power lines, your homes, your large tree branches, and things like that. We'll pull up how many power outages we're seeing right now, unfortunately. A lot of them are happening in Missouri at this moment. Now, no wonder here, because they're seeing a lot of the freezing rain and heavy snowfall. They're getting a little bit of everything here in Missouri, right? And that is happening too, and here into the Midwest as well. So we're going to be seeing a lot more power outages, and those are expected here over the next several days due to not only what you're seeing here on the weather radar, but I'm going to show the wind radar here very soon, because we got some gusty winds coming from this as well. So again, I don't want to get sidetracked. We'll get into the winds here in a moment. So let's take a look at what the rest of this afternoon looks like on the wintry side of this system. So as we move east here, this storm is going to continue. It's going to wrap up here in the Central Plains by dinner time here. It's about 6 o'clock. And then really move into the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley for the rainfall and severe weather. Get into the mid-Atlantic here by tonight. So snow will continue to move east. The ice will continue to move east. The rain will continue to move east. Got a low pressure here that is just circulating and bringing up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, feeding the severe weather, feeding the ice, feeding the snow, and cold air coming down here from the Arctic. That's why we have this interesting looking storm system. And actually, meteorologically, this is a pretty storm system. Like this thing, from the weather nerd side of things, this is pretty cool to look at. But we know that there's going to be heavy impacts, and unfortunately, that's going to impact a lot of people. Millions of people are under this, so this is pretty interesting. As this continues to move across the eastern 2/3. Let's take a look at what the overnight has in store for us. Central Plains, you're through, but we are getting into the Midwest here and into the mid-Atlantic. Heavy snowfall coming into the lower Ohio Valley. We got some icing happening too, moving into West Virginia, Maryland, the DC area, getting into the I-95 corridor. Anybody who's traveling, maybe you took an extended holiday break. Maybe this is the day you're traveling back home. Hopefully you're keeping a close eye on the weather. Just 2 weeks ago it was Christmas. We just had New Year's this last week. So a lot of people could be heading back home today So you want to pay close attention, especially along the I-95 corridor. You're going to have a lot of impacts as the storm moves in overnight. Let's take a look at what it looks like early tomorrow morning, 2 a.m. Eastern time. We've got some heavy snowfall just extending all the way from St. Louis to the DC area to Delaware and the eastern shore of Maryland and even southern New Jersey here, with icing happening here across Virginia. Virginia, you're going to have a lot of different impacts here depending on where you're at in the state. If you're in the northern Virginia area, you're most likely getting snow. Middle areas, you're getting ice, and then even in the mountains here, as well as rainfall in the lower elevations. So this is going to be pretty dynamic across Virginia as well. Multiple states of emergency have been declared already to release the extra resources needed so that we can be prepared. Virginia has already declared a state of emergency, and I can bring up the list too of who else has already done that, but it's easy to see why, because we have a lot of things happening here. Let me go over any questions we have so far. If we do have any, awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is going to be a very interesting storm system. We're going to see a lot of impact, so please thank you for tuning in with us. All right. This is early tomorrow morning, so any of you that are planning on hitting the roads for your commute, well, maybe think about telework, maybe think about PTO if you can. Take the opportunity to do that if you have that opportunity, because things are going to get dicey here across the mid-Atlantic, especially into the Ohio Valley. We know in the Ohio Valley and in the northern parts here in the Great Lakes area, lake effect has been going on too, so you guys have been seeing a lot of snow here. We know you're used to the snow, but this is going to be, even more on top of what you've already been receiving. So you really want to pay close attention. So as we get into the I-95 corridor here, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time, we see the rain extending all the way down here into the southeast, into the Florida Panhandle. Then you got the icy mess happening here all the way into the Philadelphia area with snowfall. So it is going to be a busy morning here. So if you do have that opportunity to take some time off or telework, this is the day to do it. Tomorrow, Monday, January 6th is the day to do it, because it's just going to be very busy and the roads are going to be treacherous. I mean, it's easy to see that roads are going to be treacherous. Snow plows are going to be out. They're going to be sending out a lot of salt and road treatments as well. So this is just going to be a busy day. Best to stay indoors. Get your cup of cocoa. Try and stay indoors if you can. All right. Let's take a look at the severe weather side of things. Now, you already see this lighting up here with a lot of lightning here along this cold front, and we see heavy rainfall with it. There is a tornado watch that has already been put out, and I will double check where exactly that is, but we are seeing an enhanced risk of severe weather here across this area, going down into central Louisiana, all the way up here into Arkansas, and then western Mississippi as well. Enhanced risk is a level 3 out of 5 on the severity scale, which does indicate tornadoes, scattered tornadoes, gusty winds, and large hail. So that's what's coming with this storm system. Main thing is the tornadoes. This area just recently, last weekend, just the weekend after Christmas, just recently had a tornado outbreak in this area with severe weather. So people are still cleaning up. People who have already been recently impacted are dealing with this again. So if you know anybody who's been impacted and may not have a way to be watching this right now, please make sure that they are getting this information, that you, even if you yourself, if you are down here, have 3 ways to receive a weather warning. Best to have those 3 ways, because cell phone could be knocked out. A weather radio is very easy to get warnings as well. Don't rely on those sirens. It's very hard to hear them, especially if you've got gusty winds happening. It's very hard to hear those. If you are in a mobile home or a manufactured home, those are not safe to be in during a tornado event. Find a location where it is safe to be in that is very secure. Know where you want to go for those tornado events, because this thing is going to be sliding eastward. So just have a plan before this does hit. It's it's a serious situation when that thing happens. So, and people down here, how serious that can get. So be sure to have a plan if that does happen. All right, let's get into the winds from this system as well. Let me pull up the wind radar. Again, this is available to you right on your Weather and Radar app. You'll be able to see it. So this will be in addition to the snow, the ice, the gusty or the severe weather. We've got gusty winds happening here too. Reason being, we have a very cold weather system coming down from the Arctic and pushing southward. And then we have that cold front, so that's out right ahead of it, is going to be causing a lot of gusty winds. And you can already see it here across Oklahoma City, 50-mile-per-hour gusts in this area, even higher here just to the north. We got 55 in Stillwater here as well. So gusty winds. If you got your holiday decorations still up, they're likely flying around. If you can, go out and make sure they're nice and tightened down, because those can become flying objects that could injure people or cause damage. So just be sure you have those tightened down very good. This is already currently We've got gusty winds extending all the way up into the Midwest, southward down into Texas and New Orleans, and even into the Tennessee Valley. Let's take a look at this as it moves east. All right, these gusty winds are going to continue. And Jonathan Petramala, as we saw at the beginning of this live, he mentioned blizzard conditions. No wonder we're going to see blizzard conditions here across Kansas City area and in the Missouri area due to these gusty winds. So you're going to see drifting snow as well. 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts are expected here with blizzard conditions. So be sure to keep an eye out for that as well. All right, let's take a look at what the gusts are going to be doing as we go about this afternoon. As you can see, as the storm shifts east, so do the gusts. They come right with it here across the Mississippi Valley and extending into the mid-Atlantic here by this evening and overnight. Gusty winds is not hard to see when you get to the mountains here. You got gusty winds here all the way into the 40 and 50 mile per hour zones as well. So we're going to see a lot of gusty winds from the system as it does continue to move east. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like tomorrow. Let me pull it up here. All right. Across the southeast here, we do have a lot of gusty winds happening tomorrow. This is lunchtime tomorrow as the storm system continues moving east. Again, this thing is going to last for a good while. So you have the opportunity to take off tomorrow, especially in the areas getting ice and snow. Be sure to do so. All right. All right. Let's move into the impacts from this storm that we're going to be seeing here. Let me pull this up right here. Okay. We'll get into the severe weather first. Let me get some water real quick. All right. Like I said earlier, we have an enhanced risk here across the deep south with a slight risk just extending outside of that and an isolated thunderstorm threat, severe thunderstorm threat extending into Texas, all the way into the lower Tennessee Valley and even into the Florida Panhandle here. This severe weather is going to be significant. We expect tornadoes from this system this afternoon. Have at least 3 ways to receive a weather warning for this. We can expect scattered tornadoes, unfortunately, for more than 1 million people across this area into Greenville, down into Jackson, Mississippi, and Alexandria, Louisiana. Again, areas that just saw these heavy impacts last weekend post-Christmas. So please have at least 3 ways to receive those weather warnings and be on the lookout on the sky because we're going to be seeing this as the cold front does shift east throughout the day. Getting into the heavy rainfall portion of this that I just showed a minute ago, isolated flooding is very possible with this storm system. Excuse me. As far as totals go, we could see, 2 to 3 inches as far as totals and isolated spots. However, in the heaviest downpours in the storm system, the severe thunderstorms that do move through, you could see 2 to 3 inches an hour in some spots, but usually 1 to 2 inches an hour anywhere from southeastern Texas here all the way into the Tennessee Valley. Have a close eye on areas. If you are planning on traveling, flash flooding is possible. So if you know of areas that do often receive flash flooding, maybe try to avoid those if you are traveling today. Because this is going to continue as the cold front continues to move east. So be very aware of your surroundings. Flash flooding it can be very dangerous, even if there's an isolated threat. It's best to just turn around, don't drown. Sometimes that adds to extra time to your trip. I know it can be annoying. I know we say it all the time, but the road may not be there underneath the water, unfortunately. So that happens a lot, especially in areas that have received heavy rainfall recently or going through drought. We know a lot of places across the U.S. are in drought right now. The water has a hard time pulling any rainfall down into the ground when there is drought because it's really hard to soak that in if you've got really dry ground. So it'll just cause runoff and could cause flash flooding. So be very aware of your surroundings as you do get that heavy rainfall in addition to the severe weather. I know it's a lot to look out for. So having those 3 ways to receive weather warnings is really going to help you out. All right. I also want to show we talked about how big and extensive this storm system is. Let's just show what the Weather Service is showing for their warnings map and watches and advisories. This is big. So we've already got that tornado watch down here. This is in the yellow, and this extends all the way up into southern Arkansas. And this is going to continue east as it does move throughout the day. So expect to see another tornado watch this afternoon moving into the Mississippi area. For this snowstorm, we have blizzard warnings, winter storm warnings, and winter weather advisories and ice storm warnings extending all the way, as we saw, from the Central Plains to the Mid-Atlantic. Have your 3 ways to receive a weather warning. Even if you got snow coming, you want to know exactly what's going to be happening in your area. All right, let me double check here. We're going to go through what the temperature radar looks like. What's going to be happening behind this storm system. I know a lot of you are going to be busy digging out, using your snow plows and your shovels, but behind this storm, we've got even more happening. All right. Let me transition to this for you real quick. All right. If it looks cold, it's because it's cold. The temperature radar does show very cold temperatures coming in behind this storm system. The cold temperatures are coming down from the Arctic and from the Canadian prairies. So, we're already seeing, look at this temperature difference here that's going to be across Texas. This morning, it's 45 in Dallas, 75 in Houston. This is a difference of 3-ish hours on no traffic drive, but also like 240 miles. So this is a pretty significant temperature shift as this cold front does continue moving down south and eastward. And we're going to see this over the next 24 hours where temperatures are just going to dive deep. The problem with this is, well, there's a few problems with this. One, it's going to be very hard for snow and ice to be melting across the areas that are being impacted by this storm system. Two, because the gusty winds and ice, power outages are likely, and we're already seeing those across Missouri. The problem with that is we have the cold weather coming in right after that. So if you have a power outage, it's unfortunate that we're going to be having some cold weather, really cold weather, actually, some below average temperatures coming in behind it. So, for people who don't have their electricity going, it could be very impactful. So we're going to be seeing some impacts even just after the storm system because of the cold weather happening here across this area. And we can see it just diving deep further south as this cold front continues going. Tonight, let's take a look all the way up into the upper Midwest here. The temperature radar is showing these pink colors. That's the colder colors that we're seeing. -12 in Fargo. We've got 5 in Bismarck, Duluth, -4. And the negative temperatures are extending as far south as Kansas here. -5 in Salina. This is overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. So those of you who are heading out for your commute tomorrow morning, bundle up. You're going to need it. This is in the negatives here across the central Kansas area into central Nebraska and obviously further north into the upper Midwest. You guys are used to it usually, but you're still going to want to bundle up, right? You know how it feels. But these temperatures are extending all the way down to the coast, the Gulf Coast here, where we got temperatures in the near freezing and at freezing in Houston and all across Texas here and even down into the deep south. So we're going from severe weather in the south to just a deep dive in temperatures as well. So be sure to have the means to be able to have your coats, have your scarves, gloves, have those ready because you're going from, like Houston, you're going from near 80 today to 30s tomorrow. So you're going to need to bundle up tomorrow and it's going to be a kind of a whiplash kind of system. So be sure to keep an eye on that. So I showed you the weather radar and how easy it is to be able to track this storm on it, but let me show you a little bit about how you can use it on your app so that you are best prepared when it comes to these storm systems or anything in the future. So I talked about how we got the freezing rain going on. You can see it right on the weather radar. Darker the color, heavier the precipitation. Same thing with the snow. Darker the color, heavier the precipitation. The pink is your snowfall on there. And you can see these different things on the weather radar. The rain radar shows you just rain. Temperature radar, we just saw it with those deep diving temperatures with the cold weather. The wind radar shows you those gusts. And then the lightning radar is going to help a lot when it comes to those severe weather that is happening across the deep south. And you can see that here happening here on the weather radar. You can see the lightning as well. So that's being tracked there for you as well. And you can find it easily on the app. It's just right below your local weather forecast. You can find the weather radar and be able to find all these tools and find an instant snapshot of the weather happening today and then 4 days in advance. And I mentioned earlier having those alerts switched on your app. If you did come to this live forecast from those alerts, awesome, they're turned on. Otherwise, go to your main menu and switch them on and you'll be ready to receive those notifications. You get all the latest weather information from us so that you can be prepared and ready to go when these storms hit. Not just this one, but the ones in the future, right? So yeah, be prepared. The app is really easy to use And we go over it all the time right here on the Weather and Radar app and on the website as well. So let me go back to what the storm looks like just to wrap up here. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The Weather Radar is going to be your main go-to to see all of this. And you want to be able to follow this throughout the day for severe weather, ice, and snow. Thank you all so much. Have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.